Today I thought I could talk about endings. And when we're thinking about endings in like our culture, in our society, oftentimes people really are afraid of loss, afraid of endings, that if they lose what they love, then they lose their meaning in their life. If they lose what they don't want to lose, oftentimes then they have to face an experience that they rather not face. And I would say when we're thinking about endings, when we're thinking about losing things, whether that's people, a career, every ending is a transition, and it's a transition to actually what you need in that moment. That whenever something ends, it's because we have learned all we have needed to learn from a person, from a career, from a certain experience we're having. And the universe creates an ending or a loss to then move us and redirect us into something that's going to serve us better. And sometimes the thing that we really need is just less distractions in our life, less distractions from ourselves and connecting with ourselves and loving and appreciating ourselves more or less, or a redirection in a career if we're in a career that isn't really that fulfilling, or maybe it's fulfilling but we're not making enough to get by. The universe will create an ending to redirect you, and the redirection, if you are open and curious and willing to grow from loss rather than shut down and give up. And it's okay if we shut down or give up, but if we feel that, can we eventually pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and go, maybe this loss is helping open me up to greater possibilities, greater opportunities that I would not have seen if whatever I lost had stayed in my life. And even if the greater opportunity is just finding a deeper love, appreciation, and connection with yourself, at the end of the day, how much you appreciate your life, how much you enjoy your life, is how much you are in love and appreciate yourself. And if you want to find real happiness, learn to love and appreciate yourself exactly as you are. And even if you feel like you do that pretty well, a great test is if people are showing you deep levels of love and appreciation, you might start to feel the parts of yourself that dislike you or don't want to spend time with you, or feel like they need a relationship so that way they can have a distraction or take a break from being themselves. They can have something outside of themselves that helps them forget the person they are for a little bit. Right? This is like the pattern for people that watch a lot of TV or play a lot of video games, is like when I'm focused on something outside of myself, then I'm less aware of me. And I can forget who I am for a little when I'm watching a lot of movies consecutively or playing hours of video games. It's the same pattern with smoking weed and drinking alcohol. That alcohol is of who a loosening of all the ways you think you have to be all the ways you think you have to be a certain way. That when we're drinking alcohol, we get to be a little bit more free from our control patterns, a little bit more free from how we usually judge or put ourselves down for being weird, and we get to embrace our weirdness a little bit more, because alcohol is a downer and it relaxes your body, but it also relaxes your judgment, your self-hatred, and your dislike of yourself. And when we're thinking about like marijuana or using weed, it's the same. Weed really helps you numb your feelings. If you ever used weed and then took a break from using weed, what you realize is you feel a lot more and you start to become more aware of how numbing it is to smoke weed regularly. And sure, different strands might do different things. And I'm not saying never smoke weed. You know, maybe if you have chronic pain, maybe doing CBD is helpful. I'm not here to put anyone down for what they use, but I'm here to make people more aware of if I'm smoking weed every day and I am not someone who has chronic pain, it might be a question of what am I trying to numb? What am I trying to free myself from facing? And weed will never free you from what you're trying to face, what you don't want to face. The only thing that will free you from what you don't want to face is facing it. The fastest way to heal any emotions that are uncomfortable is just to feel your emotions. The fastest way to help lessen your anxiety is to welcome your anxiety, to turn your anxiety into artwork, or to just say thank you more often for the anxiety you're feeling. If you were feeling a lot of anxiety, I know I've taught this before, but if you're feeling a lot of anxiety and you just put your hand on your heart and said, thank you, anxiety, for being here with me. I love you, anxiety. I'm grateful for you, anxiety. Anxiety, you are such a incredible tool of the universe or of the divine to help me learn how to sit with discomfort, to help me love things I don't want to love, to help me be more aware of what's causing anxiety in my life, and to live a healthier lifestyle due to this anxiety. And anxiety only causes us destruction when we are unwilling to feel our anxiety. And the moment we welcome our anxiety, we say thank you, and we take our feeling of anxiety as a reason to grow, not a reason to numb, is when our anxiety becomes our greatest gift. And something I learned, is like, I recently went through an ending. I've been a yoga teacher I've taught at LA Fitness for a little over a year and a couple months. And I recently put in my notice of, I recently taught my last class. And my students, like the last week, and especially the last class, came up to me and told me how much they appreciated my class, how much it was a highlight of their week, how grateful they were to be able to like take my class regularly. And it was like, I had no clue that people liked my yoga class that much. I had no clue that it was helpful to other people. Even people said they liked my like little spiritual talks at the beginning of my yoga class. And I was just doing that because one, it's good practice if I ever want to do this more professionally, and two, because I liked them. And I had no clue how much they loved and appreciated my class. And when all these people came up and told me how much they liked my class, it brought to the surface the part of myself that doesn't like Luke, the part of myself that wishes I was different, wishes I moved about the world differently, the part of myself that has a hard time appreciating myself. And while I teach about self-love and appreciation, and I try my best to give myself compliments, it's a journey I am on, it's a journey I am also on. I am also learning how to love myself more. Even when I'm teaching, any teacher is still also learning about themselves, learning through the teachings just as much as any student. And I definitely am not going to profess that I have figured out self-love, that I'm a master of self-appreciation. No, it's something I'm also still growing into. And I felt all the dislike that came up when these people were sharing their deep love and appreciation for me, for my yoga class. And there's a song that I was like scared to learn for a little bit. It's a Post Malone song, and the song's called I Don't Understand. And it's all about not liking yourself. And I was always scared to sing that song because I thought it would make me It would be affirming words that I don't like myself more. And I think what it really was a fear of was a fear of expressing the part of myself that didn't like myself, the fear of turning that pain of dislike of myself into art, the fear of having less dislike in my body by my willingness to express it. And I've been singing it lately, and I've realized that my heart feels so much lighter by my willingness to sing the song. The song goes, I don't understand why you like me so much, 'cause I don't like myself. That's like the chorus. Um, but yeah, and so can we be willing? Our turning our pain into art is never going to affirm more pain in your body. You're not, if you make a drawing or of victimhood or depression or despair, you're not going to manifest more victimhood, depression, or despair, but even deeper recesses of yourself that you don't see that often or don't come up that often, because the collective that's outside of you lives within you. And that doesn't mean that other people outside of you, when they're shitty to you, are reflecting the shittiness within you. Not what that means. When people are shitty, what they're reflecting is their unwillingness to meet your love and appreciation. Oftentimes, the people that are the quickest to judge you, the quickest to throw you out of their life, are the people that saying your love, your embodiment, your self-worth and value is way too much for me. And if I were to let you get closer to me, I would have to change more to match that love and self-worth and value. And I'm not there yet. I would have to match your level of positivity and optimism that I'm not ready to find with myself. So I'm going to judge you, make up ideas about you, and set a sharp boundary or tell you I no longer want you in my life. So that way I can stay in my level of negativity, toxic self-hate. And when we're, and when, and like and this is like why in the past on the planet, why a lot of people that were light bringers, or a lot of like the witch trials and stuff, the witch trials, I know I've made a teaching about this before, the, was the, was people lost in negativity, lost in self-hatred towards themselves or towards the world. And the people that were helping melt that out of them were the people that got accused of being witches, they were really just healers and community leaders and people who were seeing more beauty in themselves and beauty in the world. And they were killed so people could stay in their level of negativity and toxicity. And luckily, we're on a planet where, for most countries, that's no longer happening. So when we're thinking about our endings, endings aren't something to run from. Endings are always the moment we've learned all we've needed to learn from an experience, and the loss or the ending, just like a tree dying, when winter strikes and trees and plants die, all the death clears space for new plants to grow, and the decomposing trees and plants fertilize the ground for for an even more incredible birth, for new trees, new plants to grow from all that dies. And death is actually what fertilizes your greatest growth. And if you were in a relationship where you go, I wish I could love this person more, I wish I could appreciate this person more, I wish I was a better version of myself, loss is what gets you there. Loss is what puts the wind in your sail for you to get to where you're trying to go, whether that's just being more grateful and loving towards yourself or towards friends or family or romantic partners in your life, whether that's finding a career that's fulfilling, whether that's just being more efficient with our time. It is the loss that transforms you to value your time more, to value the people in your life more. And if we're afraid of losing someone, it doesn't mean necessarily that we are going to lose that specific person. Or if we feel like, oh, I I mean, eventually you will lose that person because everything dies. But if you're afraid of losing someone, or you're afraid, or you go, I wish I could love and appreciate the people in my life a little bit more. I wish I could be more kind, optimistic, and positive. It is the ending. It is becoming more aware of things are ending that actually helps us appreciate and love ourselves more, appreciate and love the people around us more, actually helps us see our time as valuable and be more efficient and productive with our time. And endings are just as valuable as births. Anything you hope to attract, you attract it by going through loss. And it doesn't mean we need to seek out loss or search for loss or end things prematurely. But when loss comes our way, can we go, thank you for this loss? And can we look to find things, and can we be open, interested, and curious of where is the universe inspiring me to grow? If this has been taken from me, what could I do that the universe is redirecting me so that I can be an even better version of myself? And just like as a little short share from my life, like I had a friend who like was very near and dear to my heart and was like my best friend, and she was also like my only real solid friend for a couple of years. And we ended up like not seeing each other for a little bit. This was also the time when I was like meditating and fasting, and she ended up saying she needed space and then essentially ghosted me, and I never heard from her again, which was like really hard to deal with on a lot of levels. But but from that happening, when I asked myself what was the message from going through that experience, is I shouldn't just pour all my love into one person, and we're meant to have community. And if and imagine how much, and I almost feel like it's the universe saying, imagine how much more fulfilling your life would be instead of just having this one really solid friend, is putting yourself out there a little bit more, exploring different hobbies or different areas in the city where you can meet new people and have more than one solid friend, more than one person to lean on. And I don't know if I would have made those steps if I hadn't lost this person. And also the loss of losing her as a friend, as a support person, just made me so much more loving and appreciative of the people in my life. And the grief that I went through in that experience made me go, obviously I don't like, I told her like many times that I loved her and cared about her, but obviously if she was willing to throw this friendship away this easily, I probably didn't tell it to her enough how much I cared, valued her, enjoyed spending time with her. And can I take what I wish I would have said to her and say it to the new people coming into my life? And it's been such an incredible level of growth, and it's been such a deepening of love I have for just having friends. Because after I lost this friend, I was living with my parents. I didn't in a town where I didn't really know anyone, and I went through a period where I had no friends at all, no one to really lean on. And the only person I would talk to is a therapist I would meet with every other week. And I was so incredibly lonely, but it just made me desire connecting with more people, desiring putting myself out there more. And when I connected with new people, really sharing love with them and not holding back how amazing or incredible I saw them, or how much value they added into my life, or how much meaning, how much how much gratitude I had to be friends with them, or how much more meaning they added to my life. And it inspired deeper relationships in my life that I would have never have found if I hadn't gone through the loss of losing my best friend at the time. And when we're thinking about wanting to become a better version of yourself, it is the loss. Your greatest growth will come from your greatest losses. And so, can we be thankful for the loss? Because a loss is always the preceding of a birth. And when you're going through losses in your life, all you have to go is saying, where's the universe redirecting me? Where's the universe inspiring me to grow? And can I move in that direction slowly? And the willingness to move in the area or the direction that the universe is trying to push you towards will always inspire even more incredible relationship, a more incredible life, a more incredible career, just by your willingness to be open, curious, and explore why something might have come to an end. And when we learn to be grateful from our losses, we're really just being grateful for growth. And your greatest grief, your greatest despair is what will, it's almost like when you lose something, it's almost like a string being pulled out of your heart, and all these fragmented aspects of yourselves are like little offshoots from this one central string, and it pulls all that pain closer together. And you can almost imagine our pain being being pulled closer together, or all these little offshoots of like dangling little bells of pain being pulled closer together as you finding greater unity and wholeness within yourself. And it will pull your greatest pain up for the surface. And as you face it and feel it, all you'll be left is greater love and appreciation for the life you live. And being aware of death, or even being aware that that you could die soon, makes you so much more appreciative and in love with the moments you have in your life. And it becomes such a gift that when you are aware that any moment, any day could be your last day, you start to find so much more beauty and so much more gratitude and so much more awe in how incredible life is. And enlightenment is really just living on the edge of death, of taking what it's like to be in spirit, or to live in constant love and appreciation, which is where we get to by by being fully aware of that everything except the light of our heart, or the light that illuminates our body, is temporary, that everything else is temporary. Even when you're in a spirit, the roles you play as a soul or as a guardian angel, those are temporary. Those eventually come to an end. And it's the being aware of death that actually helps you be so incredibly grateful of life. It's like almost like the moment you are on the edge of the cliff, when of being like being alive, and the edge is like, here, I'm trying to think about it. When the moment you're on like a cliff, I've heard someone explain it to them, and you're like you're like maybe like a couple feet away from the edge of a cliff, and every lifetime you just get a little and little closer to the edge. And that's really what enlightenment or illumination is it's standing on the very tip of the edge between life and death, and being willing to fully express yourself, fully live your life. And it doesn't mean we're reckless, and it doesn't mean we risk our life when we don't need to, but being so aware of death that inspires you to live your greatest life. Mm. And anything you want to birth in your life inspires your greatest growth in the moment you are willing to grow. is the moment everything you regretted starts to become just a fuel for who you became. And when we can be grateful for who we become is when we start to find real purpose and meaning in our life. So thank you for listening.